Zortch is a game that is currently on Steam for $5. I want you to remember that as you watch this review, because why this game is not at least $15 is beyond me. I've played a lot of FPS throwback games on Steam, and the majority cost more than Zortch, and they're nowhere near as good. When you think of the word Zortch, your boomer brain might jump back to the act of teleporting Flemoids away in Chex Quest. At least that's what I thought originally, and then I was reminded that in Chex Quest the word Zorcher did not have a T in it. Anyways, Zortch with a T, or as the title screen calls it, Zortch Maxinum against the alien Brainsuckers, is a game by Mutantleg, an indie developer who I've interviewed on the channel, by the way. Like Dusk or a Medieval before it, Zortch is another amazing ode to PC and console shooters from the late 90s and early 2000s, and this is one in particular that reminded me artistically of the Nintendo 64 release of Quake 2. I love it, and I'm putting Zortch in my top 5 of throwback shooters I've played over the last few years. I don't know about you, but when I see a $5 price tag on Steam, I usually don't expect much. I expect Timmy's first Unity project or something subpar filled with Unreal Store assets. But regardless of the quality, since I'm trying to do this whole content creator thing, cheap games are good because even if a $5 game is bad, I can still at least try to make an entertaining video out of it. Well, as I've already stated, Zortch is an excellent game and $5 very well spent. So let's talk about why. The story is simple, as a true boomer shooter story should be. The Steam page reads, Zortch Maxinum is a professional slacker who finds herself captured by aliens after falling for their fake holiday scheme. Now she must escape their planet or become a light snack. Luckily for her, there's a mysterious voice helping her along the way. The game's manual inside the Steam directory gives us a little bit more. The basic enemies are called pudding people, and they are all armed with a variety of different weapons from plasma guns to shotguns and rocket launchers. In fact, there's like well over 30 different enemy types in this game, and they don't just walk at you and shoot. Enemies jump, get on top of level geometry, and more. One of the questions I asked in my Mutantleg interview was how he approached enemy combat, and he basically said that he approached it like a Mario game. Enemies have a variety of attack patterns in those games, and he wanted the same in Zortch. I think it worked flawlessly, and it made the game feel much more dynamic than other similar games. It's such a simple approach. It makes you wonder why more developers don't apply it. Most enemies in these types of games just charge or sit there and shoot. Enemies in Zortch, however, just do more. Like these things called floaters who are tough, they fire homing explosives, teleport, and revive enemies. Honestly, when it comes to how enemies behave in games like this, I'm gonna set Zortch as like one of the gold standards that other games should adhere to. And their different dynamic movement and different engagements was easily one of the best features, if not the best feature of this game. And even though there's a lot of enemies in this game, it's not like they were haphazardly designed. Several enemies were actually cut from the main game just because they didn't work. So a lot of thought was put into the design of the enemies. I also need to highlight the fact that Mutantleg wrote his own custom engine, and Zortch was the project created to test that engine out. It's super impressive, and whether it's the engine, the design, or both, Zortch just hits the spot, a lot more so than other games that try to replicate the 90s FPS era. I think Zortch does it in a way where it feels nostalgic and straight out of 1998, but it is also new and fresh. In my opinion, much of this comes down to the weapons and their secondary fire abilities, like the wrench that is also a boomerang, tossable dynamite bundles, proximity mines that you can just walk up and steal for yourself, a brain-looking thing that shoots out lightning, or their grenade launcher that is also a rocket launcher. And I don't know if Mutantleg has dyslexia or just wanted to be different, but I personally think the rocket launcher should be the primary and the grenade launcher the secondary. I don't know, that just seems normal to me. But Zortch is not normal, and it goes outside the box. You can also kick, jump kick, and kick slide, all of which feel great to do. When playing around with it, you can get a little more height from a jump when you kick off the ground, or launch yourself with a jumping slide kick, using it to get to secrets and harder to reach places. I mean, my only real gripe with the weapons in this game was with the cute little submachine gun, which is also the sniper weapon. And while that might sound like an odd combo, it worked, but that was really not the issue. It was the zoom on it. It was just funky. It always just zoomed in too far, and to properly frame the enemy, you'd have to zoom it back out just a touch. The scope would also reset the zoom every time you stopped using it, so when scoping back in, The zoom would reset and you would have to do this every time you wanted to use the scope. So yeah, it just made using the sniper feel a bit tedious and cumbersome, but it wasn't game breaking by any means. Level design in Zortch is pretty straightforward. The levels have keys you hunt for, and they also have force fields that can be deactivated by destroying a generator. Once destroyed, they not only open up areas to complete levels, but other completely optional areas in the levels as well. There are also secrets everywhere, and they give you new weapons, overcharge your health to some ridiculous numbers, and give you a power-up to paint yourself invisible. Very cool. There are 20 levels in the game. 5 of them are boss levels and 15 regular ones. While they each have similarities, many of them also have moments that set them apart from the others, like a basketball court where you can make a shot and open a secret, a battle at a burger joint, a level with a train on it, or multiple levels that reminded me of my favorite level in Dusk. This one is a big open arena battle area, rather than your average linear boom shoot level. I think the bottom line is that Zortch just wants you to have fun. Like when we punch a level exit button and we end up upside down. The game just doesn't take itself seriously, and why should it? After all, none of its influences in the 90s took themselves seriously either. Games back then were just made purely for fun. No need for some major serious storyline, just get in there and start shooting stuff. There are a good amount of influences in Zortch as well, whether intended or not, like exiting a level has to be a homage to Duke Nukem 3D, or this Quake 2-like skybox, but instead of a big gun, it has a giant Acme magnet in it, which I assume is how the alien Brainsuckers trap their ships. In the third level, I was in a canyon and I saw these little spider robots that acted like mines. And using some sports balls, you could distract the spider mines, which kind of reminded me of Half-Life 2 and the ant lions. I enjoyed the boss fights in Zortch, and while they were decently straightforward and nothing crazy groundbreaking, they all made you have to move around so you didn't die, and that just made them fun and fast. And while I don't think any of them were particularly challenging, they were all slightly different, and that also kept it interesting. There were also many moments in this game where the level became a combat arena, and some were pretty standard boom shoot fare, but there were others that were pretty unique, like this ship hangar with the air vents that would propel you upwards, or this arena where enemies would multiply when you'd kill them and you'd quickly become overrun. I just don't have very many critiques of this game. Honestly, most of the things I can think about are such small nitpicks I don't think they're worth mentioning. Mutantleg is currently working on a DLC for Zortch, and I can't wait to see what else he comes up with. I paid $5 for Zortch, and it's just stuck with me. I already want to play it again, and when I heard Mutantleg was working on a DLC, I got really excited. Something like this comes along, and it just stays in my brain for months, even when I'm juggling all the other video topics I'm doing. This amazing little title just came out of nowhere, and it's easily one of my favorite releases of 2023. It's a breath of fresh air, and it's made with love and talent, and it's not just fucking Doom again, except for those chain gunners. They're kind of Doom, but you can at least snipe them and turn their heads into purple mist, and it's just pure, uncut fun. You should go play this game. And yes, I've mentioned it a few times already. If you're interested, I interviewed Mutantleg on the channel, so go check that one out. Have you played Zortch, and what did you think of it? Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm SaltyOctopus, and I will see you next time. Happy fragging.